Hey, okay, now, hey, welcome to this Global Hack Week, the Open Source Week, and my third session of the day. And thanks for all that, thanks to all that are returning, and welcome to the ones that are just arriving. Amit Soraya says, hi. Akram Code says, are the things to do in mainly hacking Global Hack Week is to watch sessions. Well, we also have challenges. You can head to Global Hack Week, well, GHW.mlh.io, and you can find all information about the schedule. You can win swag, of course. You can make challenges to win that swag and community points and so on. So it's a little bit more interactive. But yeah, mainly the idea is to watch these sessions and learn for you to implement new technologies on your next hackathons, right? Am I missing something? Probably, but don't worry. Just need to ask like you did. And well, we already cover the basics of Git and GitHub. We already cover what a normal maintainer workflow is to create your own open source projects. Let's talk in more general terms right now. We are going to do uh, three part sessions in which we are going to explore two very interesting topics related: open source and artificial intelligence. And I have to admit, when I was thinking of these sessions, a lot of things popped in my mind, like completely different opposite things. The hard thing for preparing for these sessions was that actually taking all of the cloud of ideas that I had into a single stream to follow for the workshop, right? Um, and with that, I prepared this. Let me start sharing my screen, and you will see. Yeah, you should see it now. Open source with AI, part one. The objectives of these sessions are to understand the landscape of what open source is in AI. And that's more complicated than you may think it is. Then we're going to explore AI driven, no code or low code contributions. And then we're going to do a hands on with real AI accelerating testing, documentation, and code comprehension, right? Very similar to what it's done in the Better Hacks with Compiler workshop, but we are going to do more extensive knowledge of that. Then we're going to discuss the best practice for AI contributions, right? And I know, like in general picture, this looks very unrelated. So let me start relating this. First, let's start understanding what open source X AI is. It could be AI frameworks, right? Models, datasets under the open source license. It can be also community models, like, for example, Hugging Face, right? But also, it can be an opportunity to accelerate or open source techniques using AI tools. So, there are a wide range of things that open source X AI can mean. And I didn't want it to just talk about just one. We're going to talk all of them. Not in depth for many of them, like for example the contributing to open source models. It's complicated, and I will require a lot of knowledge for that I currently don't have. So I will say that for the moment, we are not going to do that, but we are going to talk about it. So, AI that is open source. Let's start with that simple topic. We mentioned that there could be frameworks, for example, TensorFlow and PyTorch, both are AI libraries or tools for making AI models. Models itself, for example, BERT, GPT-2. Um, I don't know what's the one for DeepSeek. I don't know if it's DeepSeek itself. But you know what I mean, right? The datasets, for example, ImageNet, Coco, that are used to train and evaluate artificial intelligence models. Communities like the Hugging Face Hub, projects like the full OpenAI gym or gymnasium now, Stable Diffusion. If you not know any of these or don't know what I'm talking about, go ahead, Google them. There are very, very interesting projects about open source that are open source. So there are projects, well, there are software that's open source that's related to artificial intelligence. Research, we can find a lot of open source papers, um, standards like ONNX and PMML, organizations like the Linux Foundation for AI that promote open source artificial intelligence. And well, this is just a small list that fits in slide, but there are many of them, and there are many, many more to explore and to get to know. I see there are some comments, so let me make a pause to read them. Akram Code Pizza, you need more pizza. Akram Code Pizza, you need more pizza in your life, friend. Uh, watch sessions of challenges get swag. Yeah, mainly that. I don't know what. Uh, I don't know if you all chat with this, but I hate on X. Um, I don't have a strong opinions on this actually, but let me know why you hate it. I mean, because we can have opinions. You can say like, oh, I think it will be better. You can say it can improve, or I prefer this other. But you have a strong opinion. Like you hate it, and don't get me wrong. That's cool, my friend. But let me know why. Let us know why you hate it. Uh, let's continue with this, right? So, why open source AI? It's the same question as if you were saying why open source directly without the AI. But for those who didn't attend previous session that I host, the reason or the response of saying why to open source, it's huge, it's immense. But we can trace down these two: transparency, reproducibility, and more with AI, more with AI with that. Shared innovations, benchmark. We can talk about also um, collaboration. Yes, remember that? Okay. So, open source or making artificial intelligence open source, it's the way we want to follow because it was really common talk when DeepSeek got released. Like I start listening a lot of that in news. For example, in Mexico, I don't know where you're from, but in Mexico, they didn't talk that much about any other artificial intelligence tools that were public released. They didn't talk about, for example, Olama, which is also open. But when DeepSeek was released, I don't know what happened, like in public terms or marketing or relationships, whatever. But a lot of people that are not technical started talking about that, and they were impressed, like saying like, "Oh, it's free to access the code, and you can have your own in your own computer." Like have like the idea of open source, what they didn't know was open source, blew their mind. Not itself the model, not itself the artificial intelligence, but that being open source, right? um, so I mentioned, and I did underline the reproducibility in open source related to AI, because we're in times where we are limited by the hardware that we have, right? We are limited by the physical world. Talking about, of course, computation, right? Because in other terms, I'm not sure. I'm not talking about art or etc. But in computation, we are limited right now due to the real world physics, right? There are many solutions and turnarounds that we have explored, ways to make things more efficient, ways to reduce energy consumption, ways to reduce carbon footprint, which I think it's great to talk about. And this transparency of the models and reproducibility, and make it available for all to tackle these problems together, I think is just great thing to have, right? Um, in general terms, I would say it requires all of us that we are related to this artificial intelligence world to put attention in the real problems. And the real problems are not how can I make a cursor to complete my, I don't know, like app for puppies in just one day, but how it really costs to run these models, and why the companies that are hosting these are losing a lot of money actually running the models. I think that's a matter of time where the access to artificial intelligence it's going to be reduced, and I don't think that could be acceptable. Artificial intelligence has reached our lives to stay, and it's up to us to defend that and make it accessible, not just to the users we are now, but to many others. Sorry, I saw a spam message here in the comments. Um, but yeah, uh, that's the intention also for making these type of sessions. So let's continue with the contribution modes. Spam hammer, yeah. I don't know how to do that. I don't have access to each moderators. I don't know if you are moderator for O 04 or something, but you can help me doing that. Um, oh, and I saw your comment here about why you hate Onyx. Boo Onyx on ONNX. Their scikit-learn GS wrapper was so bad. Um, and my very important project made with 90% accuracy converted to ONNX gave 9% accuracy. Remember debugging it for a week straight daily, and it was so mad I ended up rewriting the entire tokenizer and putting scripts in GS, and it fixed some of it, but was such a pain to work with. Yeah, I can relate to that type of frustration. Not specifically with ONNX. Actually, I haven't. touch it that much. Um, but with many other things. I feel angry just thinking about it. But I contributed to the tokenizer script back to an open source project, and they accepted it. It was a good, I think. Yeah, that this is great. Actually, we can talk more about that if you want to share with us. We can trace down the repo and see like the process. That will be great. No, but not a mod. I have no idea either. Okay, no worries. We'll just ignore that. Oh yeah, so returning to the slides. Contribute models, code, and models, data curation, and labeling. Well, remember we talked about not only we can contribute to open source with technical things. Um, in open source, we have another very big field of contribution, which is this one: data curation and labeling. You don't have to be an expert to do this, but you're human. And remember, artificial intelligence is for the things that are normally easy for humans, but hard for computers. If some task it's already easy for a computer, and you want to apply artificial intelligence on it, then you're doing something wrong, my friend. I have to say that artificial intelligence it's for the things that are easy for us as humans, but hard for computers. Data curation and labeling it's one of those big fields. So imagine that actually I'm currently working on while doing my social service. I don't know if that's something in other places, but I'm doing my social service, and where I'm doing my social service, they have a project. They want to label the lyrics from songs to mark them as offensive or not offensive, right? And they are actually trying to reach the people to help them curate that and label the data to be like, okay, they give you a set of songs, and your task is to label based on your opinion as a human. And that's really important. And actually, I don't know if you have tried to look for a job recently, but lots of jobs in tech companies right now are doing one thing that's human reinforced learning, or reinforced learning with human feedback. I think that's the term. So they put you to correct code written by a LLM, or images, give feedback on images generated by an artificial intelligence, and so on. But these things, these jobs, uh, they pay you to correct the artificial intelligence output. That's open source too. I mean, there are companies that can pay for that, but the bad thing is that most of the resulting work from that it's going to be closed. We need, as open source communities, start doing this data curation and labeling for open source, right? And well, I don't see any impediment for you to do that. Documentations, examples, tutorials, evaluation, and benchmarks. Uh, there are some lists. You can check the references on the Hugging page on how to contribute. This is where I get this list and some inspiration. But this is again just a small part of the huge content, and I wanted to dedicate a section for this on how to contribute to artificial intelligence projects that are open source, right? Uh, but let's move on to another aspect of artificial intelligence plus open source, or vice versa, right? There are also tools that we can use uh, that are not indeed open source, but we can use to accelerate our work in open source, right? For example, GitHub Copilot, which is your AI programmer to make code suggestion, refactoring, uh, data documentation, testing, and blah 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 blah. I mean, I just put out the small use cases there. ChatGPT, why not? Very well known ChatGPT, conversational AI with con explanation, and that can help you make recommendation and the replacement of googling. um, Driftwood Blue, which is AI text integration for Java coding, code completion. It's a multi-language code suggestion based. But in general, I mean, this is a small set, but I did it on purpose. But because in general, the huge AI ally right now are these LLMs, right? And this can help us with things like, oh, it didn't change slide. Give me a second. Like no code and low code contributions. Again, I mention this, I think, almost every time I talk about artificial intelligence, but you have to have that in mind. You have to be really aware of what artificial intelligence is. And it is not magic. It is not uh, think that it's a black box as you may think. It's a set of algorithms, a family of algorithms that performs tasks. I was talking with a PhD doctor one time about this, and I was like very curious. Like I didn't understand, like, what's the definition of AI? I asked. What's the definition? I don't understand. Like they talk about machine learning. They talked about in that time, LLMs didn't exist, but they talked about neural networks. They talked about a lot of concepts, and I was like, I don't know, I don't get it. Are these subtasks, subsets of what artificial intelligence is? And he replied to me like, I will ask you what intelligence is, and I was like freeze, like I completely don't know, right? And he was like, that's the point, like artificial intelligence right now in this point in life, I would say it's more like a marketing thing. uh, there are studies, there is a field of artificial intelligence, there are mathematical models, there are again algorithms that belongs to the artificial intelligence field. But inside that we have the machine learning, inside that we have like deep learning, and in combination with all of these we have things like the long language models, we have things like the transformers, we have things like um, a combination of neural networks, we have many things. I mean, and let me explain the thing that I mentioned about the black box. It is true that we cannot explain what's happening inside when there's a neural network, well, a deep neural network, and there's another dedicated field in research of artificial intelligence that's called explainability. But we can explain how the abstract concept of a neural network works. I mean, that's not a black box. Um, so again, the point here, and I am sorry for bringing these all, it's you're as good in a tool as you understand that tool. There is a point, and I have to admit, again, I was biased by some time by my technical background, where I was saying like, no, everybody needs to know how a neural network works and how artificial in actually it's happening, or for example, how the talking model translate chunks of the um, I forgot the name of this, the natural language to bytes, and so on and so on. And at some point, someone said to me like, why shouldn't everyone has to know that? There are some things that are just tools that can be applied. And for example, imagine trying to explain every people that wants to um, draw do a drill how this works, right? That will be insane. And I have to admit that was true. That was accurate. I was wrong. I know everybody wants to know how artificial intelligence internally works. Uh, so the things that do are need to know, it's the restrictions and the capabilities of the tools you're using. For example, of course, if you want to drill something, you have things like a regular drill, but you have also like the motor hammer, or you have also things like electrical screwdriver, right? And there are different, and there are they are look very similar, but they have limitations. There are also tools like they combine these three. Uh, but you need to set the specific task that you want to do. You cannot take the drill and start hammering it through the wall, or use it to unscrew something really fast because you can damage it. Uh, I know this is a silly example, but the point with artificial intelligence tools are that they have limitations, and you cannot fully rely that they will do what you want every time and as if it was magic. You have to be really aware of what the output is. You have to be careful, and you have to also know how to do it yourself. Uh, Tools can help you save time. Let's say you have an electric saw, or you have what's the word for this? Um, oh my god, I don't know the word for that. But you want to cut the table in two. You can do it manually, or you can use a tool, an electric tool, a heavy machine tool for doing that. The one that will give you the better result if you know how to use it, it's the big tool, right? In this case, ChatGPT, GitHub Copilot, DeepSeek, Sonnet, blah blah blah. All of them will give you great results, and it will give you good it will give you great answers if you know how to use them, and you know how to correct them, and you know when to trust them or when to not, right? Hello guys, where can I get the scale of this global hack week? Globalhackweek.mlh slash schedule. Thank you so much for yeah, thank you. So that was the intention of adding this. And in the no code and low code contributions, there's a lot of things we can do with artificial intelligence. If again, if it, at some time you had to write a README, you have to put a lot of attention and effort doing the writing. And I will say the same. It's easier to read and correct than actually to write. At least for me, it depends also in the needs of the people, right? Is anyone here from India? I was looking at the mail hacking fellowship, and it seems I cannot apply if I'm from India. Does anyone know why this might be the case? Um, I don't want to lie, but I think we used to have tons of applications, and we will getting behind with the applications. So that's why it was paused on India. I don't know where or sorry when it will be resumed. But you can ask on Discord server. There's a dedicated section for the fellowship, and they can talk to you more about that, or what you can do, or what you can expect about the next steps for the program. Yeah, no worries. Um, okay, so let's return to the slides. Let's do a hands-on exercise. The tool I am going to use, it's GitHub Copilot. The task we are going to do, it's generate tests for this. So I want you to follow, if you want, use your favorite GenAI tool to generate test cases and run and verify coverage. So join me to my VS Code, and let's start doing that. Also, I will share the repo at the end with all the code and the slides. Remember, I love to use Mark, so let's do that. I'm going to open a new folder that will be called session 1. Let me close this and this. Inside the session 1, I'm going to make another folder called exercise 1. And in here, I'm going to add a new file called index or main.gss. And um, let me make this bigger for you. I'm so sorry. I always forgot that. I'm so rude. Uh, these things like that is good enough, or you want it bigger? Um, Hi, I'm from India. ML Fellowship, it's closed for Asian Pacific. Yep. Okay, perfect. So you're probably familiar thanks to the manually hacking GitHub Copilot workshop to interact with GitHub Copilot via either with the chat or either with here the inline command, right? Um, I want to introduce another one. This is not indeed the chat, I think, or I think this is called Copilot Edits. So I'm going to change this from ask to edit. There's another one, Candle Agent. I haven't tried it, but I think you can connect many other MCPs agents here. If you don't know what it is, in general terms, the abstraction is that you probably have some plugins installed and they can provide an tool for artificial intelligence, and then you can use or add like plugins, but for your Copilot or your generative AI. So let's say I add a plugin for, or in this case, an agent for Copilot for generating images that's not natively supported, but now we can do it. Or I can say like from this snippet of code produce the beautiful image. I don't know, things like that. It was just an example, but right now we are going to stick to edit. Um, so let's make a simple project that reads from the from a txt file and wraps the output in an HTML CSS styled file. No framework, just vanilla. And we have the output generated. So we are going to use the file system. Well, let's wait until Copilot's ready. It says edit main function, add a functionality to read a txt file, process its content, and generate an HTML file with a graph styled using CSS. Then we are going to create that txt file. This file will contain sample data to be ready by the script. Then we are going to create the index.html file, and then we create an style CSS file. Um, So the data, it's what's created. It was mocked up. I'm going to. I won't be going to add for some modifications here. Um, Also, I see that let's explore again. We are saving a lot of time. We still need to read what's the output and what we want and make corrections based on that. Require the file system from Node, the path from Node also library. Read the data from a txt file. That will be the direction name .txt. Output HTML path. Okay, so I don't want to generate the HTML file from the script. I want it already created and I no well I want to modify an already created file. Yeah, just that. Oh, let's see. Understood. I will modify the existing HTML file, include the graph structure, blah blah blah. Please add the index to the working set or use codebase in your request to activate the discovery working file. So, I'm going to add it index.html. It's added. So bars will be dynamically added here in the class graph. We have the script of the data. The index have been updated to include the graph container into generate bars using JavaScript. Okay, so this is great, but we don't want this. Let's keep these changes and then we can make corrections on this. Style sheets generated here. The script, we're going to do our source and index, sorry, main yes. In our main function, we need to modify this output path. We don't want that. fs file read file. We are going to read file if there's an error, reading the file. Constant values, we're going to split by the comma. This is because we know the data is generated that way. Um, for a CSV, it will be different, right? But yeah, in this case, we have it. Then let's delete this generate HTML content. Well, actually, we want this. The rest we can delete it. Write the file, the HTML file system write output. If we're writing, okay, we can delete this write too. So we receive a lot of help of Copilot, but still, let's do some things manually. As the advice says, let Copilot do the boring thing, you do the fun thing. Uh, so we need to get the document. Dot body get element by ID. What was the name of this graph? Get element by got elements by class name. The class name is graph 0, and here we are going to add that. What was the oh my god, I don't remember. But let's ask Copilot for that help out. Hmm. Div classboard style div. Okay, that's great. I think this is enough. Uh, and comes value split. Let's try to run this to see what the output is. Also styles. Well, there's not that much thing we can do with styles. Else, I'll be sticking a lot of time here. Actually, I have discovered that uh, Copilot does not give that great style suggestions in comparison with others. But that's great. We love you, Copilot. Let's copy this path. Let's go here. Let's inspect that graph from data. So let's note. Well, let me move myself. CD to sessions, and session one, exercise one. And now note the main.js, and I have a problem. Document is not defined. Oh yeah. Oh, document well, we can say just fix. Uh, well, we have to also perform it in our VS Code. Um, no, I'm actually right now. I'm not even writing the test. Remember the instruction here. Um, it's provided the EAS thing I shared. You write the test using your generative AI. Right now, I'm writing the functions, and you will be writing the test after the session is done. Like, uh, not it's not homework, of course, but to improve your using generative AI skills and accelerating your open source things here, because I will make this open source and I will post it on GitHub, and you will be making this pull request with the test now integrated, right? Great. So, blah, blah, blah. The HTML file path, read file, and the data we have. Read existing HTML file, HTML file, error regarding the HTML file, const. Okay, no, I don't want that. Okay, so probably the best thing then do is, let's take a look to this library. The web API. Web APIs. Let's take a look to the old Stack Overflow. Let's see, document certified. JSON. That's no. Yeah, that was the one I. Hmm. Hmm. No, but that will be impossible. Okay, that's fair. I get it, Copilot. We're going to need to make this. So, but this stays here. So once we process data, we have the values. Okay, perfect. Now I have the graph HTML, and this is how it looks. It looks perfect, right? Um, problem is that we are need to add more data. I'm going to say uh, update the data file to have at least. Well, no. Now generate another script called data generation.js to randomly or update the data file. The boundaries of the data as length and dimensions of values should receive should be received as parameter when called on main file. Perfect. Okay, it was graded, but nowhere where we wanted. I moved it. So we have function to generate random data and update the data file, length, mean value, max value, and file path. So generating random data, rada, array from length to max floor, mean value to max value plus one, and file data file path, it's equal to file path. Either if no data file it's required, the data.txt will be default. Uh, if it's right in this data file, we're writing. Okay, perfect. Now in the main, we need to call it. Now implement the file in here. Data generator. So that was the changes. Generate data. And here we are missing the data file path. Obviously, for scope reasons, they should be after the constant it's declared. So data generator, we're going to call this from a length of 100, mean value from minus 10 to also 500. Let's see how that looks now. And let's refresh. Great. Now, this looks like something complicated and it's worth to the book, right? So, for this first exercise, you need again to create tests for this. So, inside this, let's add a new folder and let's call this answer. No, it's not the answer because we can have multiple answers. Let's say the example. Now I'll say inside the example there create tests for the main and data generation models. Okay, tests. This is going to test. Let's see what tests are. Node, main.js, error, standard error, if error, console, test fail, error executing main.js executed successfully, verified data if exists, test fail, data file was not created, data is here. Also, console log, data file exists, if no function exists, the test HTML was not created. Well, when we execute the main function, the things we're testing here it's that we have two outputs, the data.txt file and the graph HTML file. Let's verify if that's true. If I delete this and this, and if I run node example test main, we have a problem. That's cannot find model. Okay, but yeah, sorry. Actually, I didn't create this as a model. This is model exports, not generate data, but main. And this all should be inside a function called uh, uh, main. And this is how to execute it. Where is this? Isn't this how we execute anymore? Yeah, I think this was, or maybe I'm missing something. Oh yeah, what am I missing? function main with no parameter. Well, it doesn't matter. Test main except node main yes. Okay. We have the data.txt and the graph key HTML because we execute the main.js file. So let's again delete these two. I just wanted to test if that worked. Uh, test main also false. Cannot find model developer main.js. Session 1. Oh, because this should be inside exercise 1. Um, yeah. And there is a problem. Here it says test failed, HTML file was not created, but we saw the creation of the HTML file, right? Um, if you put attention, it was created after the result of this started. So if I run this again, probably the output, I don't know, it's the same. Um, HTML file. Oh yeah, the problem is that's not called index, it's called graph. Also here, yeah, it's called graph. Let's delete them all again. Graph delete. Data file exists and the HTML file exists, so test passed. I'll like to do this in another photo. This is just a simple case of creation. I mean, we are testing the outputs, but it will be nice to test not only the outputs, but the functions inside this. For example, for the test that data generator, we have yep, we have the data generate data file read test fail unable to read the data file. Uh, if the values are data contains valid random numbers, because if these are equal to the length and it's they are in the parameter between minimum value and the maximum value, that means that's a valid number, and else we have an error. So let's try to test that too. Example test data generation. Data file updated successfully, test pass. Perfect. So these are simple examples on how tests can be performed. I want you to create a test folder and perform more complex explanations or tests here. Uh, Practical 1342 can also chill back with a pixel. Yes, that's a great advice too. Okay, so we have the code for this part one, right? So let's continue and let's do another thing. Improve documentation, right? Uh, for that, I'm going to create a README Markdown file I'm going to use the prompt AI for an instantiation and use of the sections and integrate that into README. And your task will be make updates on that README. You can follow the same process that I am following here, but you can do your own. But for that, I will add another folder called exercise 2, and inside this I'm going to add a new file. That's the readme.markdown. Here I'm going to ask Pilot, well, I can down this, and here I can say, um, give me the base structure for a README. So I have the project title, description, installation, usage, and license, right? So let's keep that. We know we can do it better, but let's keep that. Project title, we just need to replace data. Then this will be called uh, open source XAI part 1. Description. So here it's one of the best features of having Copilot here. I'm going to add some context. I'm going to add a folder. I'm going to add session 1, and I'm going to say, what do you say this project is about? This project seems to be focused on integrating AI capabilities into operating systems or exploring AI related concepts. Uh, in the context of operating systems, let me know if you like me to refine the description further. Okay, you got me wrong, Copilot. You are wrong. Take a deep look to the files and what they contain and think again. So I'm going to add the context of the folder. And let's see that again. Please add the files to be modified to working set or use codebase in your request to back discover working set files. Well, I can add the files. Actually, if you scroll it down enough, you will see the main, you will see the data generation. I'll add the context of the style. I'll add the context of the test main, and I'll add the context of the test data generation, and I'll remove the README for a second, and I'll run that. Oh, then I said added. This project is to be about generating random data, processing it, and visualizing as a graph into an HTML file. It includes functionality for data generation, file handling, and creating graphical representation of using Chart.js. Let me know if you'd like me to refine it further. The only thing you're wrong is the chart.js part. The rest is good. Add it to the README description here. Okay, this project we will return to what we have, which is project open source, and description is this one, right? Perfect. This project focuses on generating random data, processing it, and visualizing as graph in HTML file. It includes functionality for data generation, file handling, and creating a graphical representation using HTML and JavaScript. The project doesn't currently use Chart.js, but instead relies on custom HTML and JavaScript for visualization. Yeah, they like that. Let's say vanilla. And also, I don't want instructions on installations nor usage, but I want tasks. Tasks will say exercise. Mm, oh my god. Am I writing it wrong? Misspelled. What did I? Oh yeah, I add another C here. Exercise. Perfect. Uh, create a function to generate random data. Exercise one. Generate tests for the existing. Well, actually, that's a great idea. You don't need to generate new files. You need to modify existing files in your pull request. Cases for the existing test files in the repo. With the help of your favorite AI tool. Include the used AI tool in the pull request. Then two, exercise two, update the readme. No, not the readme file, but make documentation for the client. Includes the following description, installation, intent. You will add the installation usage and templates for um, feature and request and book reports. Nice. So, finally, code comprehension. The day two opening ceremony ended. Uh, it hasn't happened yet. Actually, that's scheduled for tomorrow. Well, for me, it will be tomorrow. I don't know your time, but it's for Saturday, 12 to 13 ET time. GTM, it will be Saturday, 14 hours. And that's all time zones I have right now. But yeah, that haven't happened yet. Okay, code comprehension. Finally, I don't know you, but me. Oh, I don't know. Exercise 3. I don't know one thing called. Now, create a basic Ruby on Rails app on the exercise 3 dear and uh, with me to to understand to yeah, let's say just a little bit. So we have this exercise 3 race initialization, the basic Ruby on Rails app you're watching. Initialize the exercise string directory and the readme file has been added. Let me know. This directory contains a basic Ruby on Rails application for the steps below. Blah, blah, blah. Ensure you have Ruby on Rails installed on your system. Navigate to the exercise 3 directory, bundle install, blah, blah, blah. Okay, um, is that all? Are you sure that is all? Oh, okay. Then delete, then forget the Ruby. Uh, Instead, do a Go program to connect to DB and to a Mongo DB and perform queries. Okay, we have a more a Go sorry Go program here. Uh, I don't know you, but I don't know Go. But the funny thing here, no, it's that if we face something like this in real life, like I completely don't know what's coming here. I mean, I can infer a lot of things, like we have a package that's called main, maybe it's self-reference. We import some things, context, log time, some things about the Mongo drivers. We have the main function. We store an URI to to connect to the Mongo. uh, we start trying to think about a lot of these things, but I will say just help me understand this file. Let's break it line by line and write the explanation on the readme inside this folder. I will break down the code line by line and explanations to readme file in this exercise 3. So that will be our output. Let's take a look to the preview to see if it's work. Ruby on Rails application. This directory contains a basic Ruby on Rails application. No, it's not for. Okay, that was the update, I think. No, no, yes. Uh, Mongo Go program. This program demonstrates how to connect to a Mongo database using Go, insert a document, and querying documents. Below, it's a line by line explanation of the code. Code explanation. We are going to make some imports. We're learning this currently at the moment, right? Remember, I don't know Go either. Well, I don't know if any of you do know Go. Imports. Context used to manage timeouts and deadlines for operations. Okay. FMT provides formatted input outputs. Okay. Log used for logging errors and information. Okay. Time, I know time outs. Bison provides Bison encoding and decoding from MongoDB. Mongo, the Mongo driver for Go. Uh, then we have Mongo options for the Mongo client. Then the main function, the entry point of the program. Okay. Then we set a Mongo URI connection. Yeah, kind of infer it. Create a new client. Client, comma error. I think this is how we declare a function in, or well, the output of something here in Go. I'm not sure. Okay, but the thing is here we create a client. Client creates a new MongoDB client using the connection URI and logs the errors and exit if the client creation fails. Then we create connection timeouts. Wow, uh, complex. Create a context with 10 seconds timer for the operations and a defer cancel that ensures the context is canceled to free resources. Then the connection to Mongo itself, it's make it here, connects to the MongoDB servers, logs an error exists if the connection fails. The first that ensures connection disconnects with the client with the program ends, and some confirmation message, ftm print line. I think that's what this means. Prints a command message using successfully connection, then access to the database collection, access to the test DB database into the test collection. You know this is fake, but that's a great guess. Then we insert a document with the bison.d and document we are inserting. Document will pass insert one dat to the context, and we print insert document with the ID. Okay, I'm starting to get Go now. Then we query documents with the cursor, collections fine. We pass the bison of the query maybe, and the context. Queries all documents in the collection because we're not specifying anything, I'm guessing. Logs an error and exits if query fails. Okay, so cursor closed. What was cursor? Uh, no, it was not here. Cursor. Well, okay, well, that will be an interesting to know. Let's ask, what is cursor under Go environment? In the Go environment, particularly, oh my god, a lot of information. When working with MongoDB using the Mongo driver package, a cursor is an object that allows you to iterate over the results of a query. It's returned by the methods like find. It was returned by file. Oh yeah. Oh no. Yeah, find cursor. Yeah, that's right. Key features of the cursor iteration: you can use next to move along documents, decoding, error handling, resource management, defer cursor close. Oh, interesting. This example demonstrates how to use the cursor to iterate over query results. So we have a cursor close, cursor next for all documents, and a cursor error. Okay, where to inform, sir, there is an issue in the challenges filter part in that LHCom website. Where to inform this bug? Oh, that's great. Well, in the Discord server, I hope you're already there. You can find the general section that will be great for visibility for all the emulators to know that, and probably some of the full timers will send that to the engineering team. But hey, thanks for the flagging. Please post that on the Discord server. And if you can add screenshots and how you encounter that error, that would be nice. Thank you. Um, yeah, so great explanations here. So finally, let's remove the license because here we're not using license. Um, and that's it. Another thing I can do is just making a quick fix. Fix this violation, fix all violations. I'll support markdown like violations. Okay, it's just a formatter for things in markdown. But yeah, I like to keep these changes since I like them all. And yes, the exercise 2 readme, the code comprehension. For the exercise 3, you are going not to create a Mongo, but to try to create any type of software with a language you're not familiar with. Use the and make a file, a document file to explain the code line by line. Perfect. Perfect. And well, let's mention, just to wrap up, the best practices and cautions for this. Remember, we worked a lot during this section with the GitHub Copilot AI pair programmer. We take a look to what great outputs were, but also we saw a lot of problems. So again, you will have to be really aware of them. You will have to put a lot of attention, and again, know your tools. No, they are great for a lot of things. We save a lot of time. Actually, I have this discussion with with someone during a hackathon one time. Like, some of the teammates, well, a team specifically, made a really huge and impressive hack, and one of the judges said, like, I don't believe them. I truly don't believe them. They make that during this hackathon. They have to work that before they come with the code. I don't know, something like that. And I stand up for them. Like, I defended them because I told these judge, like, when I was in my first hackathon, I spent the whole weekend writing a login for the app. And that was my contribution for the project. Nowadays, you can write, even if you don't fully know how to, the login in just 5 minutes or less and completely functional, right? With, I don't know, Firebase or authentication, things like that. But you can do that. Nowadays, you can do a lot of things faster, really faster, thanks to artificial intelligence, thanks to tools like this. So, anchor your prompts in real code to avoid hallucinations. It's just a not so, well, kind of rude from me, I have to admit that. But really, don't ask for impossible. Stay real. Um, Focus on your prompts. Take cautions on your outputs. And also, document AI usage in commit message. It's a really interesting practice if you put attentions on here. So do what the language long language models are for. That's generate text. They don't have ideas. They don't have new ideas. They don't have. They are not problem solvers. They are not engineers, developers like you. Artificial intelligence, it's not that. Artificial intelligence in this specific case as LLM, it's great for writing text. Text in this case in form of uh, programming language. Uh, and that will be it. Is this day one or day two opening ceremony ending? This is day one still. Opening ceremony will be tomorrow. Well, for me, it's almost 11 p.m. So I don't know what time is it for you, but in ET times, it will be tomorrow at 12 a.m. No, I always don't know if it's a.m. or p.m., but 12 ET time. You can watch the agenda, the schedule for the Global Hack Week, and there you can find more information depending on your time zone, right? Uh, so, thank you for joining. And while I upload this to GitHub and share with you the repository, I want you to write down uh, the questions you may have. If you have any comment, anything to share, that would be great. Uh, Let me open github.com forward repositories. And the repo for this it's Global Hack Week OS with AI. And let's git status, git cd, git add everything, git commit, fit, session one code, git push origin main. And let's see the reflected thing here. Okay, we have that now. Which opportunity for India student instead of the mainly hacking? If you're talking about specifically the fellowship, I have to admit I didn't know. I'm not from the APEC region. But hey, I'm sure there's a lot of internships that you can land in many other companies. Don't you worry. Um, so yeah, this is repo again. That will be it. I would just like to share the link for the feedback, which is um, I have it here. I always forgot it. Oh my god. Okay. If I remember well, it was something like mlh.link slash global hack week feedback. So let us know what you think about the session, if you like it, if you didn't like it. But all the comments help us to improve, right? Thanks a lot for joining. It was my pleasure. And remember, this was just the first part of the artificial intelligence plus open source, or vice versa, open source with artificial intelligence. I will see you on Monday for session 2, and then on Wednesday for session 3, where we are going to keep exploring. And I'm going to show you one of the platforms that I found more interesting about contributing with artificial intelligence. Um, I get to know this tool on a hackathon. Actually, it was the project from one of the hackathon teams, and unfortunately, because it is just a one team person, he didn't win. But I think his project was amazing, so I stayed in touch and I asked him for permission to sharing this with you, and I'm really sure you will love it. I will see you on Monday for that. Stay tuned. We have next UT at 5 a.m. ET time for open source color poly generation part 1, and then part 2. And then we have making better hacks faster with Copilot with Way, and then opening ceremony for day 2. Well, today in Global Hack Week for day 2. So see you. See you soon. Bye. Okay. Bye.